Hey guys, it's week 4 and I want to talk about a couple of concepts dealing with two-point perspective and vanishing points that are way off the page. Okay guys, back to when a vanishing point is way off our paper, way out of our picture plane. So what I showed you before is we've traced these oblique lines way out to a spot in space where they meet eventually. And that's not always a practical thing to do. As you saw, it was pretty difficult in the last lecture I posted. You had to go through a lot of steps. So we see our vanishing points are way out here, and that's like 2, 3, like 3.5 whole papers away. So that's not always a practical thing to do. We can't always transfer, do a sketch, do a thumbnail, and then transfer it to a large page. So just a couple of concepts are going to help you out. First of all, what's going to happen naturally as you continue in your drawing career is you're going to get a sense, an intuitive sense of perspective. Intuitive perspective. Where when you're looking at any two-point perspective picture plane, that you've got these series of radials that are all headed towards this vanishing point and that vanishing point. And they gradually radiate from your vanishing point to the center of vision. So we know anything above the horizon, let's do a horizon in a different color. Here's our horizon, which we've gone and found approximately. Anything above the horizon is going to have angles coming down towards your vanishing point. Anything below the horizon, your angles will head up towards the vanishing point. So eventually, you start realizing that all compositions that are in two-point perspective have this kind of fanned out radial system from your vanishing points outward or inward towards your center of vision. And we can't always practically identify vanishing points on our paper because it's way out of the frame. So eventually we just start getting used to looking for these angles, and you can see them in here. See? They all start to kind of work on this pivoting vanishing point, and that's on both sides. So we are not always going to have to rely on constructive lines, but we're going to practice enough using vanishing points that eventually your eye and your brain will just get used to this system, and you'll start to know you'll start to understand there's an implied direction to perspective. If I'm drawing a cube here and it crosses the horizon, we know that top is going to start angling down, bottom's going to angle up. And it's just a general concept that you'll instinctively start to learn. This is below the horizon line, so we know the general direction is going to be upwards toward the vanishing point. This corner is above it, so it's downwards towards the vanishing point. Same with the other side. Boom, upwards, downwards. That gives us our back corner. Well, this is pretty bad. But that gives us our back corners, our back planes. So you want to take this, let's say we're drawing this from scratch. And we don't have enough paper to put our vanishing lines in. But first of all, I'm going to show you a little bit with the thumbnail. So quickly, here's a little approximately 18 by 24 inch ratio. When we did this, when we found the vanishing points, remember we said they were like 3 of these pages away? So we're talking about way out there. So maybe we don't draw them on here, but we already know, depending on where our horizon is, let's say it's there, and depending on where our center of vision is, we already know that the general radials are gradually working their way flat from the top and working their way flat towards the horizon from the bottom. Likewise on this side, even though the vanishing point is like way out there. We've got this overall feel that you're going to start getting used to. And so though we don't have it exact, you can start to see how any shape in 2-point perspective is going to actually work with these radials. So here's that bottom. All right, let's say this thicker cube there. We know it's under the horizon line because we could see the top plane. So it's around here, about this size. Takes up the bottom half of the image. Does it cross the center of vision? Yeah, it does. Middle of it's about there, that front corner. Super rough, guys. Stay with me. But we know these oblique lines are just going to follow this general direction. This top corner is under the horizon, but not as far away from the horizon as this line. As you go down the page, these obliques get sharper and sharper. So we've got that bottom one. We know that this top one is going to be a little more shallow than that bottom one already. And likewise with this angle, because remember, it's following, it's headed to that vanishing point, which is yards away. Bottom one is going to be sharper than that. Always line up or take a look, compare your obliques to each other, and if they start to get wider and deeper, the further they get away from the horizon, you're doing it right. Even this one, this is going to be a very shallow one, headed somewhere off, almost perfectly horizontal because it's really close to the horizon line. Same with this one. about like that, right? We get this taller one, crosses the horizon completely. And it's way, just about in the center of vision. Heads all the way up there. You don't see that back part there. You see that center vertical. And that other edge. And look, these are about the same width. These planes. But we follow those radials to the horizon. So we know we're about there. This is all approximate. You don't have to do it super scientifically. So what happens up here? We're not going to see the top plane of this shape like we did here because our viewpoint is under it. Our horizon is under it. We're looking up at it. And we've got these steep angles headed way out to our vanishing point. So these, since they're higher and further away from the horizon, are sharper angle than if they were around here. So even though we're working super sloppy, we don't have a identifiable vanishing point over here. We've got this whole general system. We've got this fanning of horizon, or of orthogonal lines from the vanishing point to our center of vision. It's either above the horizon or below the horizon. Now, let's do the same image as if we were really high up looking down on it. So again, I'm just going to fake a picture plane. When we're high up, what do we know about the horizon? The horizon line is also high up. Can you see that? So let's say this is our horizon. And again, let's still say that this is our center of vision. What's our general shape of those radiuses, those radii, from our vanishing points inward? Let's say the vanishing point's way out here. Even further out here, way off the page. They're out on Gratiot, where I live. Well, they're going to have that general fanning shape as well. And the further you get away from your horizon, the sharper those radials get. So we know any cube in here is going to have, let's say here's the shape, here's the bottom edge, is going to be sharp. Top edge, let's say it's not so sharp because it's pretty close to the horizon. I'm leaning over, I can't really do that well. But compare that to this cube and see the sharper angles we have at the bottom. The further away from the horizon, the sharper your angles get. And this is a general overall shape, something that you're going to have in your head and you're just going to feel instinctually. So using that concept of intuitive perspective, let's take a look at this one again. Week 3's classwork. which I'd like to see from everybody. But all right. So what did we say? The horizon was like 3.5 boxes high. 3, yeah. Again, horizon is way the hell up here. So we know, in a very general manner, we found our center of vision, remember? And it was just about in the middle. But we know, again, in a very general manner, we've got radials coming down, spreading outward, getting sharper as they move away from the center of vision. Hope you can see that. Again, radials coming down from the vanishing point, which is way up here, getting sharper as they move away from the center of vision. So again, even in 1-point perspective, we've got this fanning out of the radials, the oblique lines, the orthogonal lines. Totally constructive lines, not even part of the composition. So we know from that our orthogonal lines further out are going to be the sharpest lines, or the sharpest angles. And by sharp, you know, I mean more acute. No. Obtuse? Whatever. They'll be more angled than the ones nearer the center of vision. So as we come inward, each angle is a little shallower than the one before it. As we head toward the center of vision. That's going to be more shallow than this one because it's closer to the center. That's how you can check your homework, and that's how I check your homework. I mean, I don't take a ruler and line everything up. If this angle is deeper than this angle, it's correct. See? Shallow, deeper, shallow, deeper. Because we've got that intuitive thing happening where we know they get more shallow towards the center and deeper as we go outward. Some of you guys had stuff like, and this is going to be extreme, you had one like going this way and one kind of going like that, and that's not going to make sense because this one's deeper than that. So it's just, again, this general feel that we're all going to develop in 1-point perspective and in 2 this way. Intuitive perspective. You're going to develop a feel for it. And it works for our inside orthogonals, our outside ones. It's just this. You guys will get this. Yeah.